Hello, fellow nerds, and welcome to our nerdiest thing. Today, we have a very special guest, author Steffanie Blais. Steffanie Blais is a sarcastic overachiever who attempts to find humor in all situations. I mean, us too, right? Originally from South Lake Tahoe, California, she is the daughter of a retired sheriff and a gifted storyteller. She has been married to the best blind date for over 20 years and has four teenage children. Oh my gosh. Her aspiration and obsession is writing, but she also works part time as a registered dietitian. She loves to write romantic dramedies and thrillers. Her books include some twists, some heartache, and some laughs. Steffanie prefers to write about characters that are relatable and flawed. As such, you won't find perfect heroes or heroines in her books, but you might find your best friend, cousin, boss, or even yourself. Steffanie believes that everyone can have a happily ever after they deserve. Welcome to the podcast, Steffanie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
After reading your bio, I think we'd be best friends, except for the
Absolutely.
dietitian part. I don't want anyone to tell me what to eat because I just had tater nachos for dinner.
I am the last person who would actually, do that. I have spent, I don't know, the last 15 years of my career in long-term care and hospice. So I'm more about giving people permission to eat whatever they want and let their
Oh,
body
right.
tell them what they want and enjoy that part of their life, which is really nice.
Well,
So
speaking of being a clinical person, having that type of career, can you tell us how you got into writing? What came first, the job as the dietitian or the job as the author?
job as dietitian, definitely. When I was younger and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, my dad had kind of urged me into looking into healthcare, both my brother and I, just because, he always said it's always going to be there. It's going to be one
Mhm.
of those things that doesn't go anywhere. Um, and so I knew that I wanted to do something, and I kind of am good at math. I like nutrition, I like that aspect of things. So I ended up going that path. And I enjoy it. I enjoy the people and using those skills, but then being a writer just gets to access a whole different side of my personality and different skills. I can just kind of close off from everything, and it's just me and this great little world that I can build, and I love that creativity.
It's so interesting because I feel like a lot of the contemporary romance authors we talk to have like very serious, big adult jobs, right? Like lawyer, dietitian, or physician, or things like that. And I think that more than anyone, all of you just need a mental break from all of that. I mean, does that sound right to you?
It does. It does.
Yeah.
And
So
I used to get that more from, rom-coms on TV or this or that, and they don't make them like they used to, and it's just not the same. And so I got even more into reading and just found that that is just the escape that I just love. So
So knowing you went into clinical work first, what prompted you to start writing a book?
I'm a big reader. I really got back into reading during quarantine. My husband bought me my first Kindle, and I just spent, I don't even know, I read well over 200 books that first year, and just got back into the world of reading and just absolutely loved it. And then I ended up meeting a couple of people who were authors, Jennifer Hartman
Mhm.
and my friend Rin Shear.
Oh, we
And
love Rin. She's so
isn't
fantastic.
yeah, she's one of my best friends. And when she was writing Wronged, we were going back and forth, and she was, asking my advice on things. I was basically beta reading it for her. And I had told her at one point that I had an idea for a book, which was Aperture. And she said, just write it. Just just write it. What are you doing? And I said, well, I don't know how to do it. I don't know where to start. And she said, just write it. I'll help you with all the other stuff. And she did. She helped me, get my account and do all that and get started. And that was that. So
Wow. So how long did it take you to write your first book?
that one was about 5 months, I'd say.
Oh, wow. That's really fast.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
tend to write pretty fast. I'm kind of putting books out every 4 to 5 months right now.
Mhm.
I keep myself on a pretty, that's one thing about being a clinical person and having that personality is I'm able to kind of keep myself on that same, thing with writing, that same structured part of my personality. So, if I write about 750 words a day, then yeah, I can kind of, average, I can get a book out in that time. So
Yeah. And when you say 750 words, that's not very much, but then nobody ever takes into account the editing process and your cover. And then if you want to go audio and all of those things on top of it, right?
yes. So that part is just that's the easiest part. I can throw 750 words on a piece of paper. I mean, it honestly might be completely almost unreadable when I first get it on there, but it's on there. It's the going back through, like you said, and the editing and double checking everything and then building the scenes more, building the characters more. That's what takes a long time. So.
I mean, I know how long it takes me to write a work email. So I mean, and sometimes those are 750 words, but it takes me a very long time, usually because I've put too many exclamation points in there. So I don't seem like I'm mean, or I haven't come across like, hard enough about something. And so, yeah, yeah, that I have always loved the idea of writing a book, but to your point, I don't know if I have the structure in my life to go, okay, I did my 750 words and now I need to edit. Like, I think I'd just be like, but I already wrote today. I don't want to edit too, you know?
Yeah. And I think there's room for that as well. Cause I know there are other authors who don't do it this way. I read a thread by an author, I can't remember who it was, and she said she writes her entire first draft and it's like 7,000 words. It's just
Wow.
blocks of outline and then goes back through and does everything. And I couldn't do that, but I think everyone has a different process and whatever works for them. So yeah, that just tends to work for me. I probably write about a third and then go back and do kind of a hard edit and make sure I like where I'm at and then
Mhm.
go forward from there and then do that third. Yeah, I do it that way
So do
probably.
you, because I'm assuming you're a plotter then and not a pantser, I'm assuming. Do you plot your
No,
first third or do you pants the whole thing?
I plot the major points. I know I
Mhm.
want to get from here to here, and this is probably what's going to happen in the middle, but that's about it. Everything
Wow.
like the little things that happen in between are just, yeah, definitely pants, that stuff.
Now you said that you're close with Jennifer and Rin, but
Mhm.
knowing that you read over 200 books during the pandemic, was there a particular book that really inspired you to, besides Rin saying, write your book, but what book did you read where you're like, okay, I need to do this?
So I had not read any TL Swan, and I read Stopover and Takeover, and
Hmm.
Takeover especially. Oh my gosh. I remember laying on the couch and just laughing hysterically at different parts of that book and just being done and thinking, I just needed that. I needed that laugh. I needed that escape. That was so nice. And just, I wonder if I could do that for anybody. That would be really cool. So that's the book I remember just really standing out during that time.
Oh my gosh. I hope you've told them that because I think that would probably make their day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when I met her in Denver, I was able to tell her that, and she was just so sweet and wonderful. So
Yeah, she seems really nice.
yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your books. Your website has a dreamy edition section. Can you tell us what that's all about?
Yeah. Okay. So that was not planned. That came out of just this weird thing that happened. So Jennifer Hartman's husband, Jake,
Hmm.
did my first two covers. He did
Oh, that's
Aperture
great.
for me. Yeah. And he did Ever the Same, which is the first book in the series of the Men of Sierra Falls.
Hmm.
So he made this amazing cover and it's just so gorgeous and romantic and beautiful. And then after that, Jen's career is getting even bigger and he was doing stuff for her. And he said, I really need to take a step back from making covers. And I said, okay, but I have two more books in this series. What are we going to
I need
do?
my books to match. Come on.
So,
Because I'm sorry,
um,
readers go after authors about that, don't we?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
yes,
Yes.
I was like, no, these have to match. You don't understand. And I didn't know what to do. I had beautiful small things coming out. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to go back to the drawing board, find a different cover artist, have her do another cover of Ever the Same, and then make matching covers of the next two books.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that, and that worked out. And I just made them black and very more, more contemporary looking. But then I had the cover of Beautiful Small Things over here that Jake made that was just so gorgeous, that didn't match anything. And it was just sitting there. And I was like, oh, I don't want to not use this book. It's so pretty. And so Jake still wasn't, into making covers except for anyone except for Jen. But Catherine or Kate Kelly at Kate Decided to Design said, I think I can give it a shot. I think I can mimic these covers a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had her make two covers that match that one. So that's a series. It's the same book, but they match. And so they're more, romantic editions. They just look a little bit different, but all the interior's the same and stuff. And yeah, I couldn't have just the one book out here just by itself, all gorgeous. And so.
And
they really are beautiful.
They really are. And thank you for doing that, because I mean, there's nothing worse than getting another book and you put it on the shelf and you're like, wait, it doesn't even look like it goes with it. And these are, because there's book buyers and there's book collectors. And I'm going to say everyone sitting in this Zoom room right now is a book collector. Yeah. So, right. Like my daughter tried to pick something up off the shelf the other day and I was like, whoa, what are you doing? And she's like, well, can I read this summer? And I was like, no, that's signed. You can get it on Libby. Like you may not.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny, I brought both copies to Denver, and people definitely had their favorites. There were people who wanted the three very, sleek, more contemporary ones, and then people who wanted the romantic ones, but they wanted the whole group, no matter which one it was.
100%. So I want to talk about Tainted Love and your Merrimack hockey series. So they're set in the 80s, which I just really adore. And Mindy and I are both 80s kids, and I'm going to assume you are too, Steffanie. But can you tell us about that era and why you decided to write in that decade?
I always wanted to write an 80s romance. I feel like I just hadn't read a lot of that. I didn't know what was out there, but I knew that I missed kind of, that whole John Hughes vibe and stuff. And I wanted to write something like that. And I wanted specifically, this isn't giving anything away, but for Strange Love, I wanted there to be a cult involved in the book and a kidnapping. And I don't know if you thought a lot about that as a kid, but for me growing up, I don't know, kidnappings and cults, it was just more of a thing in the 80s for some reason. So it just made sense.
Because there was no internet and you couldn't find people. So like, I feel like people could get things to cult level faster than they could now.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
There was no one, warning you on TikTok about this guy over here and,
right.
Yeah.
So with Strange Love, which is the book that's already out, and then Tainted Love comes out in July, what are you hoping for the readers to take from this book? And can you also tell me, is it a standalone or is it a continuation of Strange Love?
It is a standalone. There is, character overlaps. So you would probably get a better feel for everything if you read Strange Love first, but you certainly don't have to. I hopefully, give enough information into it that you can read it on its own. I would say I just want to continue with the nostalgia that people are loving. That's probably been the biggest thing that I've gotten from readers and messages, and they've made just the most fantastic reels and stuff for me, that they just love the nostalgia of it, that the music and stuff like that. So I just want to take them back to that time again in another walk down memory lane. Or I've even had people who said I didn't grow up in that time, but I still loved reading about it. So
that was my next question. So if you had a 20 something reader, what would you want them to get out of it, as opposed to a 30 or 40 something reader?
Yeah, so I make a point in the book to talk about things that are a little bit different that we had to deal with. So there's a scene where she has to call his house to talk to him, and she has to speak to his father to talk to him, which is something kids these days are like, what do you mean you have to call the house and talk to the dad? And then, there's a little bit of a discussion about a long distance romance, but back then that just was so much more difficult because you didn't have the technology to do that sort of thing. You could write and then you could talk on the phone, but long distance was ridiculous. You had like 2 hours on a Sunday night where they gave you a better,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
it was like friends and family or whatever. So there was just a lot more challenges in that way. But then the cool thing about it is I just think people were kind of forced to connect on a different level because they
Deeper
didn't have
level.
yeah,
Right.
because they didn't have the technology. So
My son, even today, he goes, well, I want to go see if so and so, I wonder if so and so's home. I was like, go knock on the door. And he goes, what if their parents answer? And I was like, the same thing happens that if I answer the door, you ask if they're home and if they want to come. But it was so like foreign to him that he has to talk to someone's parents, right?
mhm,
Which
mhm.
the kids are going to have to learn how to do that at some point, right? They're going to have to talk to adults at somewhere.
Yep. We were
Yeah.
just talking about how my husband and I, when the kids were little, we would make them be the ones who would go and ask for, like to go boxes in
Mhm.
restaurants and stuff because they didn't want to do it. They didn't want to talk to, strange adults. And we'd be like, nope, if you want to take that home, you got to go ask for it.
We do the same thing. If you want your
Us too.
order at a restaurant, then you have to order your food. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're the same exact way. Well,
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn it over to Mindy and we're going to do some of our really fun speed rounds with you, which I can't wait for your answers on these.
Yay. Okay.
Yeah, these are specially curated for you and geared towards the 80s theme. So I'm really
Okay.
excited about it.
Yay.
So the first so the first one, well, actually both of them are just kind of like first thing that comes to your mind. I'm gonna throw out something and as quick as you can, but typically we also interject and like want to like tell our opinion too. So, so
Yeah.
we say it's a speed round, but it never really is.
Perfect.
So the first one is called 1980s Yay or Nay. So I'm gonna say something and you say yay or nay, yes or no, whatever. Okay.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
All right. 16 candles.
Yay.
Neon colors.
Yay.
New Kids on the Block.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
one? Which one? Which
Yeah,
one?
who's your fave?
I had a huge crush on Jordan Knight.
Me
Like
too.
ridiculous. But
Yeah.
Joey McIntyre is like such a cutie to this day, and I'm feeling like, oh, I picked wrong. But yeah, I had a huge
I didn't think he was cute in the 80s, but I think he's cute now.
I was going to say he aged really well.
Yeah.
so well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was my first concert actually at Arco Arena
Oh,
in
wow.
Sacramento. Yeah, in like
I
1987-ish.
I actually saw them pre-pandemic and some of them really do look the same age. I think I was mostly disappointed by the amount of do you remember the infomercial for the little blingy gun that you could like put rhinestones on all over?
Yeah.
The Bedazzler.
Everything a bedazzler. Thank you, Mindy. Everything they wore was bedazzled. So much to the point where I was like, they have a bedazzler person on staff that is backstage
Oh
bedazzling their Converse.
no.
And I'm like, oh boys, like that makes you less cute. Don't bedazzle everything. You don't need to do
Yeah.
that.
Are you
Yeah.
sponsored by Bedazzle? What's happening?
I don't
The
know.
Bedazzler is making a comeback. Sponsored New Kids on the Block and Boys to Men.
I love it.
Was that the one we went to together?
I think so.
I
Yeah.
think it was. Yeah. Yeah.
Where
it was
did you
like boy
guys see
bands.
it?
In Louisville,
Here in
Kentucky. We've got a
Louisville.
big arena
Okay.
here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Getting back to some more fun 80s things. Teased and Aquanet hair.
Yes. Yay.
It's an absolute 80s must. Shoulder
Mhm.
pads.
Nay.
Yeah. I couldn't do shoulder pads. I have big enough shoulders as it is. I didn't need to accentuate that.
Yeah, and I think they were a little ahead. That was a little bit older than me. Like I remember watching Dallas and shows like that, and all the fancy corporate women had their shoulder pads, and I just wasn't. I was still a teenager. I wasn't quite there, but
I'm a
Yeah, it
big
wasn't
enough
really a
feminist.
middle school thing.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
a big enough feminist where I'm like, I don't want to try to make my shoulders look like a man's. I don't need to do that.
Yeah, no kidding.
no.
Yeah. I hope
Yeah.
those don't come back in style for sure.
Yeah, no.
All right. Breakfast Club.
Yay.
Rob Lowe.
Yay.
River Phoenix.
Yay.
Cabbage Patch Dolls.
Nay. We couldn't afford them. They were so cute, but I could
They were
never
so
afford
cute.
them.
We
I
got,
didn't
we got
have
them
one.
from yard sales is what we did.
My
I
friend
never
had
had
one, and
one.
I would just smell it. But yeah,
They did smell good, didn't they?
they
But
did.
yeah, I didn't have one, but my grandmother made me one, like out of
Oh,
like pantyhose was the face, and like she made it look like one. And
that's so
so, and at the
cute.
time, like now I'm like, yeah, I'm like, oh, that is so sweet. And I kind of wish I kept it. But at the time I was like, is this like a generic Cabbage Patch? Like I was such a brat. But
Yeah.
like now I appreciate it. But like at the time I was like, oh, I'm embarrassed. It's not a real Cabbage Patch Kid.
Yeah, but
Sorry,
that's
Grandma.
how I think we all were. And the Cabbage Patches came with their own birth certificate, and it was like so.
Yes.
And if you
Yes.
had a knockoff, everyone knew. And yeah,
Yeah.
so
That was definitely an 80s vibe of like keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing. But yeah.
very much so. Yeah, very much so.
All right. MTV.
Yay.
Absolutely. Original Nintendo.
Nay. I was never into the video games. I remember when my brother got his first Atari, and he would stay up and he would play those games, and my mom played some, but I never really got into it.
Yeah. The Goonies.
Yay.
We actually, during the pandemic, when they started opening up theaters, Deborah and I and a couple other our friends, they opened, like you could like rent it out, like 10 of you could go, and they did the Goonies and we watched it in the
I
big
totally
theater.
forgot that
Remember
we
that?
did that. That was so much
That
fun.
was so much fun.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was like being back in the 80s again.
Mm.
All right. Just a few more. Dirty Dancing.
Yay.
Madonna.
Yay.
Add
Then
in,
not
Like
now.
that's like
add in,
quintessential.
I know,
Yeah.
add in Madonna's sex book, yay or nay.
I never saw that.
So it wasn't actual sex. It was like, like soft core, right? But,
Yeah.
she got Vanilla Ice and a bunch of people to pose in it for her.
Did she really?
Yeah.
Oh, now I have to find it. Now I'm going to be curious.
So it was such a big deal. It's like out of print. You can get one off Amazon, but it's like $500.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, it's
which I don't need to
insane.
see Vanilla Ice naked that bad.
Yeah, no. I mean, if it's free, I'll find it, but I'm not.
Yeah, is it on KU? Let's put it on KU.
Exactly. It's a Patriot.
I want to be the one that's trying to look for it in the library, like in the actual library. Here, I'm gonna check this out. All right, just a couple more. Boy George.
Yay.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yay.
And Tom Cruise.
Yay.
In the 80s.
Oh, yay. Top Gun I remember watching that movie in seventh grade me sitting there watching that volleyball scene, like having my first sexual awakening. Like, I don't know what's happening right now, but I'm very excited about this scene.
Why do I like these sweaty guys so much? Like, what's happening to my body?
Exactly. And then when we got the tape, just rewinding it over and over, my parents were like, why is this song on again? I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know. I just really like the song. I'm in it for the plot, Dad.
Exactly. Exactly. I wanted to move to Miramar. Oh. Yeah.
Good times. Yep. Did you like the remake or the next gen?
I did.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was really well done. I really liked bringing back Iceman, even though, that was kind of sad and stuff. And I thought it was cool. I thought it was really entertaining.
I actually thought it was well done too. It was better than I had expected.
Yeah, me too. Because most of the time when they try and either remake or do anything off these movies, it's a horrible disaster. So
yeah, true. All right, so the next, I got like 5 questions where it's going to be your answer is going to be how Steffanie would answer in the 80s.
Okay.
So this is 80s Steffanie answering these questions. Got it?
Okay.
All right, favorite book.
The Watchers by Dean Koontz.
Ooh, I read that too. That was a good book. Well, I will say I do enjoy Dean Koontz a lot, but I enjoyed him a lot as a younger reader and not so much as a reader now.
Yeah, I haven't read anything of his in so long, but I went through such a catalog of his around that time.
Me too. Me
And that
too.
was the first one I read, and I just was, what?
I think he's really good at
Hooked.
getting people into reading.
Yeah, I can. Yeah,
Yes.
I would
Yeah.
agree.
All right. Favorite music or artist?
That would have been probably Depeche Mode.
God, me too.
Yeah, I
We just
love.
had a discussion, and Deb asked me what my first single was,
Mhm.
and mine. I'm pretty sure it was "People Are People" by Depeche Mode.
Oh,
Do you
so
remember what your
good.
first single was, Stephanie?
Why do I want to say it was something with Phil Collins? I feel
Yeah,
like it was Phil Collins something.
Mine
Yeah.
was
he was
Mariah
big time
Carey's
then.
Mariah Carey's Hero.
Ooh.
Yeah. I really wanted to be Mariah Carey when I grew up, but I found out I can't sing. So
Yeah.
there's that.
She had the best hair back then too.
She
Those
did.
She
curls.
did. She
Oh,
did.
yes.
All right. So now we're going to talk about the outfit that made you feel hot.
Mhm.
And by hot, I mean like super cool, not like sweating.
Yeah. So still to this day, I like this look, kind of that off the shoulder, you know? And so
Mhm.
I was the queen of like the one off the shoulder sweater and stuff. I just always felt like I looked so good if one shoulder was showing.
I
And
think
then
that
for
you could
basketball,
do it in this current shirt that you're wearing.
yeah, I
I
probably.
know.
Yeah, see,
There you
look,
go.
There you
you
go.
got it.
It is. That's hot.
Yeah, that was my
All right.
thing. I don't know.
Yeah. It was a lot of people's thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
After
Your
Flashdance, that became
Mhm.
huge.
That's what it was. Yes,
Yeah.
that was the inspiration. Yes.
Yeah.
Your favorite thing to do to relax in the 80s?
Listen to music, watch TV. I was very into 21 Jump Street,
Mhm.
which
Johnny
I
Depp.
share. Yes, which I share that love with Sasha from Tainted Love. So when you read that, you'll see that. What else in the 80s did I do? Probably just hung out with friends. We would drive around town a lot with no destination just go get big gulps from 7-Eleven and just drive around and just chat.
My daughter did that last night, actually. She's 20. And they never do that anymore. And so when she
Yeah.
told me that, I was like, oh my gosh, we used to do that all the time. She's
That
like,
was the
yeah,
only
we
way
just
you
went and
saw
we got
people.
drinks. Yeah, no
Yeah.
kidding. That was how you hung out. You just cruised around, and they just
Yep.
don't do that much anymore.
We had
So
two
I
stops.
was
Yeah, you had like a drag, and there were two stops where everybody would like stop and hang out. And when you got
Yep.
bored of that group, you drive back on the drag
turn
to the
around.
spot. Yep.
Yep. And that's
Yep.
how Tahoe was. There's like one road that goes through South Lake Tahoe. So you just
Mhm.
drive up and down, and then you might take like a little, tour to where your crush lives and drive by that house and freak out. Yeah.
Or toilet
Yeah.
paper your enemy's house or whatever.
Yes.
Or drive off and go make out somewhere. That's usually what
Mm.
I did, right? Or, I was doing a lot of things I should not have been doing at that time.
Oh, we all
Yeah,
were in the 80s.
it's so funny. I talked to my kids about this. For them having so much technology and access to things, I feel like we moved faster at that time for some reason and I don't know what that is, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we sure
Yeah.
did.
Truth.
Yeah.
And the last one, the number one thing that Steffanie of today misses about that decade.
I miss probably just the connections with people, those personal connections. It's harder now. It's
Mhm.
harder to that's one thing I love about the book conventions is I get to talk to people and hug them and actually see them, and it's just different than doing it online.
It sure is. Everything feels very surface level nowadays, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Everything just moves so fast. You don't have a lot of time, I feel like, to really get to know people. So
Mhm.
just
For sure.
different.
So speaking of your readers, where do you like them to connect with you? I know before we actually started the interview, we were talking about that TikTok keeps blocking things and doing all of that. So where do you prefer that your readers come find you and hang out with you on your day to day?
Yeah, so I'm probably on Instagram the most, and I answer all my messages on Instagram. I do have a reader group on Facebook. It's called Blais Book Babes.
Mhm, that's good.
So I'm in there a lot.
You're really active in there too.
I try.
No, you're
I
good.
try.
You're good about it.
Am I? Okay. Because sometimes
Yeah.
I get a lot of, interaction, and other times it's crickets. And I'm like, oh, am I driving these guys crazy? So those are probably the main two places. And then people can email me from my, there's a contact me on my website and stuff. But probably Instagram and Facebook are the easiest.
Okay. And what's your handle on Instagram?
It is author_Steffanie Blais.
Okay, perfect. And where do you prefer that people go to purchase your books? Do you have a specific place? Do you prefer your website? Do you prefer Amazon? What's best for you as the author?
No, I mean, whatever people are comfortable with. If they buy them from my website, then I sign them. But because I have to pay for the shipping, it's more expensive. So I understand, that that's not going to be viable for everybody. So Amazon's fine. And then hopefully if they can see me at a convention, I can sign it and chat with them.
What conventions are you doing in the next year?
So next year I am doing Lust in the Low Country, obviously.
Yeah.
My favorite. Yeah, 2025. And then I'm doing Love and Devotion, which is in Burbank in June of 2025.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything going on in the fall. And then 2026, I'm doing one in Ohio.
Oh, wow. Do you know what it's called?
Rage
We'll
is the name of it.
That. Okay.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's just a one day.
Okay.
Yeah. Rin kind of tells me what to sign up for, and I do it.
Yeah. Everybody has that friend, right? Like the one that you depend on to tell you about stuff, for sure.
Yeah.
Deborah's mine.
Swati MH and I are always joking how Rin just tells us what to do. Even in Denver, we're like, what do we wear? What do we bring? Where do you want us to be?
Yeah.
She just tells us.
So one thing we always end our episodes with is our nerdiest thing of the week. So it can be book related or something that happened in your life, but it has to be the thing that week where you kind of nerded out. So can you tell us what your nerdiest thing of the week is?
Yeah. So yesterday, my oldest had to get her wisdom teeth out.
Oh.
And I know she's been such a trooper, but in the car on the way home, she turns very sternly and says, I want to watch the Hunger Games. And you can't say no because I had to have this done. And I was like, actually, that sounds amazing. I want to watch the Hunger Games. And so we made it through Catching Fire. And I had just forgotten how much I love those movies. And I'm like, I need to read those books. I need to. So I think we're going to pick up tonight and just, work our way through the whole thing. So
does she remember anything from yesterday?
I think so. Yeah, I did.
Okay. I was like so stoned out of my gourd after my wisdom teeth. I'm like, was so stoned. What about Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes? Have you seen that yet?
I have not. Both my daughters went and saw it and had kind of mixed feelings about it. So I do need to watch that.
I really, really loved it. And speaking of sexual awakenings, you need to just get on board with thinking President Snow is hot now, because it's kind of a shocker.
They were talking about him. Yeah, I was like, I don't know if I can do it. And they're like, Mom, you got to see it.
You won't have a choice, Steffanie. I'm telling you, you won't have a choice.
Crazy. Oh, my interest is peaked.
Yeah, he has the BDE swagger. I don't know how he did it, because we leave the movies and someone looks at me and they're like, that was hot, right? And I was like, yes, why was that so hot?
Oh, I can't wait. That's going to be so fun.
You'll have to message us and tell us what you think.
Yeah, I will.
We'll bring a big Cornelius Snow cutout for you at Less Than the Low Country.
Perfect. Perfect. I love it.
That would be awesome.
Steffanie, it was such a pleasure to talk with you, and we can't wait for your new book. And thank you so much for coming on to the podcast tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. This was so fun. I appreciate it.
And be on the lookout for the review for Tainted Love, because we're going to be reading it for sure.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Well, we'll see you soon. Thanks, Steffanie.
All right. You guys have a good night.
Bye.
You too. Bye.